Hi, I'm Greg, and welcome back to another episode of Hot Dogs Garage. And on today's episode, it's part 2 of the wiring harness installation, and we're going to be wiring up the Dakota Digital RTX gauge cluster. So let's lay it all out and get going. Let's get into it. On to the instrument cluster. So, like I said, Dakota Digital, right? So we got the instructions for the Dakota Digital here, and the instrument cluster harness pack for the actual American Auto Wire update. And then this is going to be the box for the Dakota Digital. And these are going to be the wires that go from this box to the display gauge. We've got the sending units for the engine and the programming switch, the little light harnesses, and basically we still have the instructions for the kit for the American Auto Wire, the main dash harness, because it tells you the list of all of the wires and where they go. I believe that's going to be in this bag as well. But all of the, so this bag connectors here are going to connect into these connectors from the main dash harness, and then they all have open ends on them, as you can see there, and then those are just going to go into the corresponding box, or the brain box, for the Dakota Digital. So I'm going to open this up, and I got to find a spot to mount this and plug these into the dash, and then start running these over to here. All right, got the box wired up. Like I said, that dash harness just had all these connectors on it, and then you just run them into, you know, the tach, the ignition power, 12 volt constant. This one's for the clock, and everything over here, you can see it just wires into the side. The brake, the turn signals, the high beams, and then these will just plug into the harness for the dash. And then for the Dakota Digital, on the back, comes with these harnesses. Like, this is the buzzer, that just has a clip into the back, and then these just clip into this. This clips into the back of the Dakota Digital, and then this will plug into this box once we mount it. And then these are the light harnesses, the 2 blinkers, and the brake system, and the stock blinker switches here and here. So next step now will be to just mount this somewhere, up in here somewhere, up under, back under here somewhere, and figure out how to route all of these, and then clean all of it up and make it look decentish. Okay, here's where I've decided to mount the control box for the Dakota Digital. It is double-sided taped on there, so I should be able to move it if that proves to not be the best spot, but I had to get it up there to at least start figuring out where we can route the wires. So these are the harnesses that come into this side from the American Auto Wire. And as you can see, we've got the clock cable, the display cable, the switch input, which I'll show you in a minute. You got the left and right turn signal, the high beams, and the brake indicator. And then you've got down here the fuel signal, the tach, the ignition power, the 12 volt, and I need to run a ground, which I'll be doing shortly, as well as some other stuff with the blinker. Couple of things to note here. If you're gonna use these switches into here for the Dakota Digital, it's not going to illuminate the stock locations for the brake, warning light, and the stock turn signal indicators. We've got to wire up these, which are lights up on the dash, which I'll show you in a second. For the fuel input, I talked to Dakota Digital. With the Mopar, it's 1 wire, so the signal should work as long as our stock ground is good. If our stock ground is not good, we're gonna have to run an additional ground. The oil pressure, the temperature, and the speedometer, all of that is supplied in this kit by Dakota Digital, which will make the engine harness pretty easy. And I'll have to utilize, I'm gonna make some block off plates for the AC unit because I'm not putting one in. So we'll probably run that, and those are gonna have to come from here. probably run along this way somewhere, along that way. And again, I got to clean all this up. This is all just up here temporarily. This one's kind of a stretch, so I need to put these ones back or reroute to get some extra slack in up here. Now for the turn signal switches or indicator lights, sorry, the stock locations are here, right, for the left, here for the right, and then the brake indicator. So if you have the parking brake on, this light on the dash is supposed to illuminate. So those three come with their own harness from Dakota Digital to wire into that, either to that box or to your original harness. So I can wire these but connect them to the original harness and these would display. Or I can wire them to that box with the harness and they're gonna display here, and they should have a little turn signal display in there, which I like better than cutting apart the original harness and butt connecting it. I think I'm just gonna put them all to the control box. They said that if having it blinking here and here really drives me crazy later, I can disable this one in the settings most likely. Otherwise, I can just reach down and pull these out of the control box. So not ready to commit to one versus the other, so I'm gonna hook them both up, see if I hate both of them, like both of them, want to get rid of one. I figured we'd just do it all and we can make that decision later. And then the brake lights obviously doesn't matter. I still got to connect it in over there, which will be an easier connection. So I need to identify which ones of these are what, run those in there, and then I'm just going to run the three grounds together and ground that back up under with the steering column ground or with whatever other ground is down there. We've got this ground for the dash lights and the radio we still need to make. We've got the ground for, basically the ground for this, all the grounds we still need to make, which I know it's the most important technically, I guess, but I'm kind of saving it for last so I can get all the wires run and then we can find all the grounds and figure out where we want to put them from there. Okay, like I was just saying, I'm gonna have to probably redo some of these, but you can see I put all of them together with the yellow zip ties. One harness is together with green, one harness is together with blue. So I'm gonna cut these yellow ones, pull them all down, because I've freed up over here where the actual instrument cluster harnesses go to. This one I'm not using, but like this is one of them, and this is one of them, and they were down under this, but I wanted to get a little more slack, maybe move these a little this way. So I'm gonna unconnect these ones. My recommendation when you're doing this is don't make everything perfect right away. Get all your connections made, put stuff up out of the way for a little bit, let it hang down, get all the connections made, then go back and, you know, I'm gonna go back and there's a clip here that's these are gonna mount to, so this is all just a work in progress. All right, update. I pulled this control box down so I could get all of the wires for the turn signal and the brakes and everything and help rerun. So again, I did pull a lot of that stuff down, and I think I'm gonna try to put it back here. Up there's nice, but the wiper linkage potentially gets in the way. So I'm gonna double-sided tape it here for now, clean up these connections, and once we wire the engine, we'll reassess if we want to move it. Like I said, I'm just gonna double-sided tape it, nothing permanent. We can move it. All these wires and harnesses are, you know, they have some slack. We have some options, so I'm gonna put it here, mainly because it's easier to get to these when we go to wire everything else up. So it's gonna live here for now until there's a reason that that doesn't work. Okay, the Dakota Digital dash is 97.3% in. So all that's left now are the ground wires for the LED lights for the turn signal indicators and the brake light. And this is the original dash light ground from the American Auto wire harness. So I'm gonna connect all 3 or 4 of these. This one, this one, this one, and then the dash light ground, connect those and make that up inside there. And then because this is nice ground wire, that's marked ground wire, and it's the right size, I'm gonna use the leftovers of that to run the ground wire for the Dakota Digital control box, because that's the right size and it's marked ground, so that seems appropriate. So I will, once I make those grounds, I'll use that. And then again, I put this back up with double-sided tape and have made most of the connections. Sorry, it's so dark in here. So again, all the connections are in: the clock, the display, the switch, the turn signals, the high beams, the brakes, and the LED lights are in there as well, as long as the tach, the ignition, and the 12-volt constant, and that's the ground that I need to make there. I do think, depending when I'm done, I think I might actually mount it up there if I can get around the wiper linkage. But so here's how it is now. Again, sorry for these darn lights, but all the yellow zip ties are putting multiple harnesses together, and the blue and the greens are individual harnesses, so if I need to redo it, I can just cut the yellow ones. This is the dash light wire and an extra 12-volt accessory feed. I didn't want to cut that wire because I don't know where I'll need the dash lights. It's just an extra dash light and a 12-volt ignition accessory, so I like to coil that up and put it there for future use. And then this is the oil and temp from the original harness that's not being used, so I labeled that. And then for the buzzer, you can see I double-sided taped it up to there and just coiled the extra wire and hung it on one of these brackets. And then the switch is actually supposed to mount underneath somewhere in here. Somebody had drilled some holes there, but they're not centered, so they want you to mount the switch underneath somewhere where you can, but since I'm not a smoker, I decided to mount the switch in the ashtray for the Dakota Digital. So to program it, I can push this switch. I had to modify that bracket just a little bit because that is too small for the cigarette lighter hole, but I think that hides it nicely. So when I'm going to program everything, I can just open this, press this switch, and then when you're driving, you can just close it and it's hidden right there. So I think where I'm at now is basically I need to make the grounds for the speedometer, for all the lights and the dash lights and the radio. So there's a bunch of grounds that I need to make, and for the control box. So everything is done for the Dakota Digital Dash except for the engine harness and the grounds. Everything else behind the dash and the gauges is completely done, so I can move on to the rear body harness and get the whole rear body harness done, and then it'll be the front light harness. However, I did not do the console harness, which is right here, which is actually step 2 in the bag. I did not do the console harness because I just didn't feel like having wires out here. We'll do that when we're closer to putting the carpet in. So time to eat a hot dog and read the instructions for the rear body harness. Well, if the sticker is on the toolbox, then I think we can officially call the Dakota Digital Dash installed. Still a few things that we have to do, like hooking up the grounds and the sensors that go to the engine once we figure that out. But I would say for the most part, with the exception of a few things, the dash harness is mostly complete, the gauge harness is mostly complete, and now we can move on to the rear body harness. I mean, how hard can a few rear brake lights be after all the stuff that we just did? So, all right, we got a jalapeno hot dog on a Hawaiian roll. So a little bit of spice, a little bit of sweet. So let me go find where I put these instructions back here. This is a mess. All right, thanks for watching. Come on back whenever I post the next video. Thank you.